is can be said without you getting your head chopped off, and without you having repercussions once you've left the four walls. So I think that there's an issue there for some very skilled mediation type work,
well, I think
where
if
the real issues of the day can be discussed.
If our leaders can for a second put their egos aside and stop pointing other groups for issues that we all share collectively, we can probably move forward a lot quicker.
I think
when
it comes to, well, as a young person, when it comes to finger pointing, it's all easy to say we need to pull our fingers away. Put your fingers where they need to be pointed, but work together where you need to work together. It's very simple.
Yeah, I think once the blame game ends, we can move forward. And on that note, we'll be back after this short break. Hi, welcome back to Broken Silence. I'm Sanyya Gardez. Today we're talking about drug abuse and gang violence, and joining me on the panel is Chairman Lal from the Labour Party and Councillor Paulette Hamilton. Thank you both for joining us today. Paulette, let's just start with you. What can we, the Asian community, learn from the Afro-Caribbean community in terms of drug abuse and gang violence?
In the mid-90s, in the Caribbean community, we started to see an increase in drug violence, and I think we missed an opportunity to really stem it before it got to the stage it's got to now. And I think within the Asian community, Asian and Pakistani community, they can really now learn the lessons that we failed to pick up on within our community when it first started to happen, and they can really learn some of the lessons to ensure that they don't get to the level that we are at in our community at the moment.
What kind of things can we do as a community to make sure that this problem, this issue, doesn't become huge and out of control?
The thing is, it's this wall of silence. Within the Afro-Caribbean community, there was always an issue that you don't tell. You don't tell the police anything. You don't talk about what's happening in your local community. And what happened was the problem became so bad that we had the riots in the 80s, but we still didn't really talk about what our issues were. And what the government did, although I'm a councillor, we threw a large amount of money at what we thought were the issues, but we really didn't target what we needed to target because we weren't asking the right people. And so what then happened in the 90s, we had a generation that started being born in the 80s and 90s that were growing up with, they didn't have fathers, some of them. Many of them were, as I said, in one-parent families. The issues that were being raised in the Caribbean community around worklessness weren't being addressed. There were issues being raised. I hate this word, but this respect issue started to play a big part.
What do you mean by the respect issue?
Because many of our youngsters then started to say that if you didn't respect them, which in my day when I was growing up, you had to earn respect. And I think the issue is even deeper than that, because within the education system, I feel that started to fail us, because in my day when I was at school, it was tough enough at school. But then within the education system, we started to then see major barriers for our children. And whereas in the early days, the black boys and girls were doing really well, they'd hit secondary school and they just seemed to drop out of the system. And so within the Asian and Pakistani community, we have to be careful and be mindful that this doesn't start happening with some of the girls and the lads not attending school the way they need to.
It's already happening. You see that it is already happening, don't you?
And this is what started to happen in our community. And then their peer groups became their very best friends. And you tended to find this is where the gangs really started to take hold. And this is where we have to have that deterrent happening within our community. I believe that within the Afro-Caribbean community, we're at a stage now where it's become really quite bad. But to me, it isn't so bad that we can't actually pull back from it. And I think you've got to take comfort from that in the Asian and Pakistani community, because it can be better. You just have to work together with all the other bodies, which is what we didn't do as a community.
That's very reassuring to hear, that it's still a problem that we can still get under control. It isn't too big to handle as some people think that it might be. Chairman Lal, what is your take on drug abuse and gang violence within our Asian community?
Sorry, I have been representing the Soho ward of the Birmingham City Council for the past 15 years, and for the past few years, drugs and gang issue have creeped in my own area, and I have the residents complaining to me about youths dealing drugs, which puts fear in the local community. Then also I got the parents who come to me saying that the police have raided their houses for drugs and
is there anything that you can do to help the parents, help the youths? What kind of advice do you offer?
As part of the local government, there are various initiatives from local government as well as central government. But problem we got at the moment is the issue is probably is getting out of control. It's not due to lack of intervention from the local government or the central government. It's from, I would say, breakdown of the so-called society and moral values in the society, which are giving rise to these problems.
Now, Paulette, you mentioned earlier that when this problem started becoming a problem in the Afro-Caribbean community, one of the reasons that you think this might have happened is the breakdown of the family unit.
Yes.
Do you think that plays a big part in leading somebody towards drugs, towards finding comfort in a gang?
For me, I'm not saying it's a be-all and end. That is the
well,
main
reason. Well, there isn't one thing that we can say, you know, if this one criteria is what you need to get addicted.
Starting off as I started off as a mother. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and I'm a counsellor. And as a wife and a mother, I have children. And there are certain rules that are in my house that my children are not allowed to break. But because I have a husband, it means then that that is reinforced.
Right.
I'm finding that, and I can only speak for my community, I won't speak for another one. I'm finding that because within our community we have that breakdown in the family unit, it doesn't mean that homes with one-parent families aren't doing well. It doesn't mean that it's large numbers that are causing problems. But from the small minority, when you look at the groups that are really becoming affected with guns and gangs and different issues in that area, predominantly they seem to be overwhelmingly coming from parents with just one members of the family. And so I believe that is a key issue as to why this is happening, because they turn to their peers for support. And even 5-6 years ago, my daughter was on a bus and she came home horrified because she was on this bus and there was this crew called the Fatherless Crew.
Oh
and
my
that
God.
she came home and she said, Mom, I can't believe somebody can call themselves a crew. So what was said earlier regarding postcodes, people will associate themselves with anything that they have an affinity to. And I think that works across the board. As a counsellor in our area, you do see that there's an increase in drugs and you see there's an increase in other types of behaviour. But I would say overall, compared to 10 years ago, the increase is not as great, but it's just the severity when they do go out there and commit the crimes. Because whereas 10 years ago, they would fight, now they will pull a knife or a gun.
Or a gun. Right.
And that's what I've found, that the severity when they attack each other has got far worse, and there seems to be no control when they lose their tempers.
There seems to be no boundaries.
Exactly.
There seems to be, do you think a part of that reason, and I'm going to just open this up to whoever wants to jump right in, do you think a part of the reasons that Asians and Afro-Caribbeans, that we are affected by